So we are learning how to graph. If you have an equation here in, what is the name of this form, by the way? Do you remember? Slope-intercept, yes, which is y equals mx plus b, right? So if you're lucky enough to have an equation in slope-intercept form, you're pretty much ready to graph it. So you just take the slope out and the y-intercept, and then when you go to graph this thing on a coordinate plane, let's see if I can get both of these on at once. Hold on. Let's try this way. All I have to do is start at the y-intercept and then follow the slope. The problem is some of you don't know where the y-intercept is. You think it's the x-intercept. Be careful. So the y-intercept is at 0, 3. 0, 3 is here. Oops. 0, 3 is there. You put a big old dot right there. Not on the x-axis, it's on the y-axis. Y is the one that goes up and down, remember. So sometimes it even helps to label it if you want to. There are teeny tiny labels on this graph, but if you can't see them. So that's all you got to do. You start at the y-intercept and then you follow the slope. If the slope is 2, what does that mean for me to do from this point? Because normally we talk about slope as a fraction, right? So how do you make 2 a fraction? True? 2 over 1. So, oops, why did I write it 2? 2 over 1. So those are directions. The directions, the top number tells you how many boxes to go up or down. If it was a negative, you would go down. If it's positive, you go up. So the top number tells you how many to go up, and the bottom number tells you how many boxes to go to the right. So this is always number of spaces up or down. And then this number on the bottom, number of spaces to the right. And that's all I have to do. So from the dot I just made, if I follow these directions, I should go up 2 boxes, to the right 1 box. And then you can just do it a couple of times. And there you have it. There's my line. It's just that easy. Connect the dots. Oops. There's my graph. So let's try another one in slope-intercept form. Say you had y equals, let's throw a negative fraction. How about negative 2/3 x minus 1? So the very first thing you need to do is figure out where your y-intercept is. But when it's in this form, it's so easy. It just gave it to me. I can just look at it, Liliana. It's at 0, -1, that's it. So I'm going to put a big old dot at 0, -1. Did you put a dot there? 0, -1? You did? And you didn't put it on the x-axis? Oh, sorry. I gotta shut that off. That's the most common mistake, is that kids put it on the x-axis and not the y. It's got to be on the y-axis. Now, go ahead and try and see if you can figure out what that slope is telling you to do. A negative 2/3 slope. Where do you go from that dot? Drew? When you say over, which way?
To the right.
Always to the right. Always. So I'm going to go down 2 spaces to the right, 1, 2, 3. Down 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3. There's your line this time. Did you make that line? You did? So a very quick thing that you can check, if you have a line with a negative slope, what should it be doing from left to right? Going down. Yes, that's right. So see how this line is going down from left to right? So I know it has a negative slope. This one is going up from left to right. It's got to have a positive slope. So when you finish graphing a line, you should very quickly check, is it going up or down like I thought it would be? Hopefully it is. So let's try another one. Say I asked you to do, oh, what?
Can you both go back to it?
Yeah, this one?
Oh, never mind, I got it, sorry.
Say I asked you to do, well, let me try and trick you for a minute. So before we even graph it, should this thing be going up or down from left to right? Down, because my slope is a negative. There's a negative sign attached to my slope. I don't care that it's in the denominator. What I personally would do with this thing before I did anything else, I can't stand that there's a negative in the denominator. I would move it. I'd move it straight upstairs. So I would cross out that negative down there, and I would move it up top. Yep.
So you can just move it.
If you have a negative in a fraction, so all of these fractions are exactly the same. Negative 1/3 is the same thing as 1 over negative 3, and that's the same thing as sometimes they put the negative just out in the front. All of these are exactly the same. But it's the easiest to deal with when it's like that, when you just have the negative in the top. So if you ever have the negative in the bottom or out in front, just put it with the top number. And you don't have to do anything fancy. They're all exactly the same as each other. So this thing should be going down from left to right. Where do I start?
0, 1. 0, 2.
Yeah, 0, 2, right? My y-intercept is a positive 2, so I start right there. And then, according to my slope directions, I'm supposed to go,
3, 1.
well, which way?
Oh, no, that would be where the next point would be. 3, 1.
Oh, 3, 1. Yes, because you went down 1 to the right 3. Always down 1 to the right 3. Down 1 to the right 3. And there you have it. Aren't these nice? Yeah, I think so. They're pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So, to make sure that we have the hang of it, before we continue on,